Aloha, friends and neighbors. Welcome to program 914. 914 weeks I've served you folks in Hawaii. Now on the internet. Yes, at skymirrorastrology.com/TV or just Sky Mirror Astrology. Get the app. You can watch this Sky Mirror I'm about to do on the app site. So Sky Mirror Astrology. Anyway, we're going to do the Sky Mirror right away and check out the second week of June 2014 for you and see what's coming up in the sky and how it may or may not affect your life. So, first note, there is a full moon coming up. It's on the 12th of June, Thursday night for you at 22 degrees of Sag. It's okay. It's going to square Jupiter, so you'll be stuck with overdoing things and too much rain for a while maybe than you're used to. But other than that, the sun is in Gemini. The birds are singing. Let's go do some work. Gemini is a sign of the birds. Ben Franklin said each zodiac sign was named for the animal that was birthed in that period. So in Pisces, the Chad, that's a fish. And in Taurus, the young bulls are born. In Leo, the young lions are. So it's like each animal that was of importance to man had his month. Comes to mind, I've been looking at an old Ralph Waldo Emerson book, and you have Mercury trine Neptune. It's time for such things. One of his quotes is, "Nature gives to every time and season a beauty of its own." Wow. Neptune stops Monday for you at 9:52 a.m. Now, this is having Jesus kind of slow down and say hello. This is a time of sensitivity. Your sense of smell will go up. And, whenever a planet stations, that's when you study them. We had Mars station here the other day, and there was a couple of road rage accidents on this very day, on Saturday, when Mars stopped, on the 20th of May. And most famous was right off our beach. There was a distressed man in the water, and when then they found out he had a big machete with him, and everybody was afraid to go out and help him. And finally, the police said they're going to take the police boat out there and taser him in the water. Turned out he had a bad drug or something, and he was a little nutty, and the phone company had done a trip on him. Yes, Uranus. It was all about his telephone, and the telephone problem, with his cell phone, kind of drove him a little nuts, and he went aggro on it. Anyway, Mars really raged on the 20th of May. And there were also, I got a lot of work done. I painted a little apartment I was setting up. And I really did physical work. I was doing hammers and nails and rescreening old windows, and so I saw a real good side of Mars, but I also saw the difficult side. Anyway, here comes Neptune coming right at you on Monday the 9th. Now, there was an adverse new moon to Neptune on the 28th of May that squared Neptune, so Neptune's not he's a little bit hard to hear the music in a way. But read Jesus and remember that it's all been rewritten a lot. But when you read heaven in the New Testament, it really goes back to Aramaic, which is sky. And that Jesus was a trained astrologer. The astrologers the three wise men bankrolled him into he was living right near Alexandria, So the missing years, he got his PhD, and that included history and medicine and science and astrology. You came out of there with an astrolabe. So he knew astrology and knew how to use it. Anyway, I love reading about Jesus, but you gotta, watch the words. Remember a few weeks ago I showed you how Matthew was different from Mark, different from Luke, and they all, managed to lose the astrology of one episode. Anyway, study Neptune, art, music. This is your higher heart. This is the one, the sense of smell goes up, your sensitivity goes up. And, angels can fly around here during this time. So it's 9:52 a.m. Monday for you. And it's important. Because, the next day it fades off. And the third day it fades off a lot. And yeah. So it peaks out here on this time. Now, interestingly enough, just before Neptune stops and the angels speak, Mercury stops in trine to it. Mercury, of course, is the messenger in your mind, your memory, and your words. And Mercury stops trining Neptune. They're both in water signs. So Mercury stopping at 3-4 degrees of Cancer, and Neptune stopping at 7 degrees of Pisces. Boy, so the poetry could spring out of you spontaneously during this whole period. You could find yourself singing songs, remembering songs from your youth. Song, poetry, it's wonderful stuff. Let's do the sky mirror, and then I'll show you. I started having a little poetry spirit myself here, kind of weird stuff. It's not, there is a bit of a problem, in a way, in the middle of the week. Venus opposes Saturn. So your normal, ice cream and sweets and sex and all that stuff from Venus, it's hard to get. It's hard to get towards the end of next week for you. Well, let's take a look at this day by day. I got the pattern here. Mars is opposing Uranus yet. There could be more guys raging against the electronic machines and the phone companies and the electric companies and the internet stuff. And and Mercury here, when he stops at 3 degrees of Pisces, or Cancer, still 10 degrees off opposing Pluto. But that's within the orb. Mercury runs a 10-degree orb. The Sun 12, the Moon 12. Anyway, we still got the kind of grand cross set up that produces all this tension. Yeah, it's still there, and Mercury is there now too. So there could be some talk. Jupiter still trining Saturn. Oh, lovely. And supposedly the judge and the lawyer get along and make deals. But I don't know about our Congress. The sun's going through the last part of Gemini here, and I think he's doing pretty well. He's in trine to Mars at the first part of your week, and so you can be positive Mars and fix things and get the hammer and the saw out and, do physical things to protect. Do some gardening. Cut the vine off the tree. That's on my list. There's a sextile to Uranus coming up from the Sun. When's that? That's happening for you now. So, heck, there's a lot of understanding about astrology and what this all is. What we're doing here, huh? What are we doing here? Well, here's what the pattern of planets are in the sky. And these are the same characters on stage humanity has studied for, 20,000 years. We know who they are. Mars is Mars. Mars is Ku. Mars is Aries, an agricultural god. A guy with sharps and hots that fixes things. Saves your plants. Anyway, all these guys have personalities. All the cultures of the world have studied them. Everybody knows Jupiter. Jupiter is Talak. Jupiter is Jove. Jupiter is the agricultural god. He's the one who brings the rain and the thunder, the wise one, huh? Lightning bolts of truth come. Everybody knows him. Of course, everybody knows Venus, huh? It was the Mayans that first told me she has an evil time. when she's rising in the morning. You got to watch out for her. She's not just all sweets and goodies. None of these characters are. They're actors on the stage. They all have kind of a good side and a bad side. And, you know, the one you're about to study, Neptune, is the same way. When Neptune stops here, Monday morning, and even starting over the weekend, the good side of him is the higher heart, and you know, the words of Jesus, and the great men of sensitivity and heart from the past, that, you know, Emerson, who. So there are lots of them, and they can really teach wisdom and do wonderful things. At the same time, we can drink too much. That's the problem. I would recommend to you, you don't use alcohol at all. It just dulls you, you know. There are herbs that could sharpen your senses a little bit and your sensitivities and allow you to change your attitude, like pot. And, of course, probably illegal now, tiny bit of the mushroom from the field, and your ability to see gets better. So this is a time, heck, fasting is a wonderful way to heighten the senses. You know, go out in nature, and so, you know, great time for meditation. Find yourself out there in the morning of Monday the 9th, and amazing things can happen from Neptune, having to do with water, of course, and fish and booze, and I call him the priest, artist, doctor, musician, and he's really strong right now. See the trine to Mercury? The kids are all going to follow Neptune like who is that, the piper. Okay, enough of this silliness. How's it going to be day by day? We're going to run the moon around the edge of this planetary pattern. And as it goes through a day, this is 2 a.m. in the morning to 2 a.m. in the morning, it makes angles to these characters on stage, these planets, and it changes the mood of the times. The generic mood now, it's not your chart. If you're there Thursday night on June 5th watching the show, where most of you are except Honolulu, you're having one of those, now I understand, real solid, practical knowledge. Starts with the sextile to Saturn, and the practical stuff, the money, the laws, the past, the common sense of the past happens, and that's in the middle of Thursday. And then in the evening, there's a sextile to Jupiter. This is, once we got the foundation laid, we can build something bigger on top. And there you've got this common sense wonder Thursday night. Hope we all learn something. Friday morning, the moon's still in Virgo, and on the 6th, it stays that way until the middle of the afternoon when it shifts into Libra. Now, once it goes into Libra, here's the square to Mercury, who's acting up, right? Mercury's stationing. So here's real difficulties for a little bit Friday night. Now, that's 2 a.m., midnight, 10. It's about 9:30, something like that. It'll be a little different in different locations, but, you know, you won't like the noise. It'll be hard to write, hard to communicate. You know, Mercury usually hides things like the keys or your remote control. Anything that carries stuff around, that's what Mercury did. So your wallet carries things, so you watch out for the wallet. Your keychain carries things, see? And communication, transportation, going to be a little difficult here. Normally when Mercury stops, oh boy, the wind slows down, your mind stops. You understand words better than you know, they break into pieces and the real meaning comes out. I'll show you an example of that soon, but okay, so difficulty with all of that Friday night. It's a mixed bag. Moon's in Libra on Saturday, and that's when the SHIT hits the fan, and we see road rage, and we see all kinds of difficulties with Mars here. Happens in the middle of the day and the afternoon mostly. Let's see, we got Pluto here. Territoriality! Can't control this. The fire's out of control. And then interruptions of the media and the electrical services and things like that happen. That's in the late evening. And it goes on till even overdoing things, and we made too much of this whole thing maybe on Sunday morning. It's kind of a mess right through Saturday, and you can bet there'll be fires and there'll be fights. And Martian, a lot of sports guys will stand up and do things. And normally I'd expect, the prisons are full of Mars. Something needs to be done. So Sunday, you'll be lucky if you can relax because you overdid it all. Probably ate too much breakfast in the morning. It doesn't change much until the moon goes into Scorpio. That's, midnight or so, 1 a.m. in the morning. And so on Monday, June 9th, it's a very different day. The moon's in Scorpio. Starts with a trine to Mercury. Aha! Neptune. Neptune trine is middle of the day. A trine, 120 degrees, the blue line, that just happens. There'll be music, there'll be poetry, there'll be angel visits and stuff. And, read Matthew in the New Testament. Gee. Just read Jesus' words, not try to get into it. The thing lasts well through Monday. Here, 2 a.m. in the morning, we got the opposition to Venus, and everybody's restless and can't get no satisfaction, and everybody wants sex and sweets, but it doesn't quite work out like they wanted it because the moon's coming up on Saturn early Tuesday morning. We've got some problems here with restrictions and limitations and the politicians, and of course this could be a constructive Saturn. Maybe this is when you make your plan Tuesday morning. The moon goes by Saturn, you set it in cement. It's time to make the contract. That's what Saturn does. He solidifies and crystallizes things. So you got a trine from Jupiter, comes off in the afternoon. The wisdom is there. You should feel confident. Yeah. Confident. On Wednesday, June 11th, the moon's into Sagittarius. And in the late afternoon, squares Neptune, and there's bad smells and confusion. There is, late at night, 10, 11 o'clock, a nice sextile to Mars. You can start planning the physical repairs you want to do. Thursday morning, there's a trine to Uranus, the technical side. Yeah, the science is there. And so you could fix the electronics, fix your electricity, stuff like that Wednesday night, Thursday. You got to knock it off just before dinner because there's a square to the sun. You're going to lose ambition. Friday morning, the moon goes into Capricorn. And again, all the vibes change. There's an opposition to Mercury early Friday morning, and there's too much noise and you can't communicate and transportate, and your mind doesn't work so good. Friday afternoon and evening, there's a sextile to Neptune, though. And by golly, priest, artist, doctor's there. Listen for the angels. Midnight, well, this is actually 2 a.m. in the morning. We got a square to Mars. So it gets increasingly angry late Friday night. And we lose our tempers if you stayed up too late. And if you woke up in the middle of the night, the culprit's probably Uranus, because the square to Uranus happens early Saturday morning in the conjunction to Pluto. So here's panic time. Here's eek, a bug. Here's an overreaction. Here's violence and road rage, and this is a mess. I don't think you want to be seduced by Neptune here Friday evening and say, oh, let's all go out for a late dinner. No, stay home. Watch it all on TV. There's a sextile to Saturn here. Might settle down a little bit about noontime Saturday, the 14th. But it seems like it's still overexposed, too much to do. Opposition to Jupiter late Saturday night. Sunday morning still feels a little bit panicky until you get almost to lunch, and then the moon shifts into Aquarius, and you get a very different feeling, and things settle out, and you get ambitious again. And late sunny, early Monday morning, trine to Mars. Let's get out and do the physical work. Correct? Oops, I didn't watch the screen. Excuse me. Get out and do the work Monday morning. Mars and Uranus are in harmony again, much like they were Thursday morning, the 12th. Anyway, that's the way it is for you and me. here on Earth, watching what's up there. Okay, interesting sidelight. I'm back here now on May 22nd, and we're having an epidemic in Kona of these big, huge striped mosquitoes. Having a public health background, I knew they were Anopheles. I wasn't exactly sure of the spelling. It's funny, here's a mercury thing for you. So I tried a couple of different ways and they didn't, finally looked more better this way. And I looked it up on Wikipedia. Turned out it's from the Greek. And the Greek says Anopheles in Greek means good for nothing. I guess. They're huge mosquitoes with stripes and they have these big antennas that come out. And the interesting thing is that out of 460 species of mosquitoes, which are just flies, by the way, only one species transmits malaria. And then only the female, Anopheles, transmits malaria. Not sure about typhus and dengue and all those things, but it's a big public health problem in the world still. They're still using DDT on the inside of huts. Why the sudden epidemic? Well, here's an interesting thing. These mosquitoes will go and find a place next to water and lay their eggs, but they'll lay it just above the water line, okay? And then we have 3-4 years of drought and the water line goes down and the eggs sit there. I mean, I haven't seen these big striped mosquitoes for a long time, but this could be 5 years, this could be 7 years, and it goes down. Then you have a whole bunch of rain like we just had here in Kona. We had a lot for 5 days, unusual 6 days. Water level goes up. As soon as the water level contacts the eggs, bang, they hatch. And in a day or two. And so, and out comes the malaria mosquito. Back in World War II, the Army was so afraid of the disease these mosquitoes could carry to their soldiers that every third day or something, a soldier or a sailor came to your house in Honolulu and checked your gutters and everything for standing water all around your yard, your basement, and then put a check on your door. You're mosquito okay. Yeah, serious. This is a big serious problem, this guy. Pluto. Another interesting sideline. I watched the Hokulea launch on TV. The lady said just a few minutes ago it left. Well, I figured it to be about 12 minutes after 6. Now this ship, this wonderful crew, and this Hawaiian sailing canoe is going around the world and visiting all these places. And these are real environmentalists. These guys want sustainable stuff. They're doing things in a righteous way, going around the world, and they're not contributing to global warming. Anyway, so I was interested. I wanted to see what kind of chart they left on. Here it is. Now, normally somebody like me some kahuna would set the time. I don't know if that happened. Way back on the original sailing canoe, one of the crewmen was my client, and we tried to set a time on him, and interesting things happened. They ignored me once and had a big fight, and long story. So what did they have here? Well, this is a long, long journey. They got Scorpio rising, good. Oh, look at that, Saturn is in the first house. They're doing this on a shoestring, and they're tough, and they're experienced, and there's older guys here. Wow. Here's a trine. Look at that, the trine to Jupiter. Now what's Jupiter doing? He's up in the 9th house of long distance voyages. Wise men. Yeah, Jupiter is money, rules the 2nd house of money. Sagittarius starts that house. So Saturn is the 3rd house ruler. Short trips, communication, teaching. Okay, this is a school. And 16 degrees of Scorpio rising. Wow, Jupiter's at 17. Nice. What else is going on here? Look at that. There's Mercury. That's the wind, at 18. And it's sextiling the midheaven. Whoa, beautiful. Beautiful. And here's Venus and Uranus, two heavy planets, and they're sextiling Mercury, and they're trining the midheaven. More beautiful stuff. Here's Chiron sextiling Pluto and the moon, and they're all sextiling and trining the rising sign. Gorgeous chart. They took care of the rising sign, Pluto. The moon is conjunct Pluto. The physical boat, rebuilding, the exploration is what it is. Exploration, regeneration, revolutionary, huh? Wow. I'm impressed. I'm going to keep this chart and we'll see what happens as the voyage goes on. Good job, whoever set the leaving time. Great job, guys. Couldn't have done it better myself. Now, here's something completely different. A kind viewer sent this to me in the mail. I don't know who did it, but it's some humor about our computer age and pressing buttons, you know. You go through it on the phone when you call somebody these days. So this is all about different kind of psychologies and what their experience is. Here we go. If you're obsessive compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, please ask someone to press 2. If you have multiple personalities, please press 3, 4, and 5, and 6. If you are paranoid delusional, we know who you are. And what you want, just stay on the line so we can trace the call. Eek. If you are schizophrenic, listen carefully and a little voice will tell you which number to press. If you're manic depressive, it doesn't matter which number you press, no one is going to answer. Oh boy. If you are delusional and occasionally hallucinate, please be aware that the thing you are holding on the side of your head is alive and may bite your ear off. I think these are hilarious. The common psychologies, huh? Of course, these professionals are stuck in their stayed in school too long. I add one more. If you're PTSD or claustrophobic, run outside in the street and break up your cell phone with the hammer. Cleaning out an old drawer, look what I found. Evidently used to be on ships and tell people where they could and couldn't smoke opium. For the good old days. Be with a loving animal for Monday morning. Aloha.